people talking too much. They say they'll feed you, turn around and end up taking your lunch. Don't give nobody anything that they can package or sell. They'll steal your work and turn around and leave your heart on the shelf. I put my trust in these people, they said I'll give you my word. I know I'm not alone when I say there was a lesson to learn. Wake up and understand you only put your faith in the sun. If it isn't inside his will, you better back up and run. See, I was driving in the fast lane, following the world, blinded by the lights they showed me. Had my boot on the gas with the pedal to the floor. Heard a voice cry out and it told me, my son, you've been burning rubber far too long. If you listen, you can hear the sound. Oh, it's not too late, you're not too far. Oh, you can turn around. The tank was low, looked up and saw the needle sitting on me. Got up off the exit, hit the brakes and then adjusted my seat. I grabbed the Bible, knocked the dust off and I skimmed through the pages. I found the words that hit me harder than that bottle I tasted. It said get rid of all your bitterness and anger inside. Repent for everything you've done and I'll bring peace to your life. Was at the bottom of the barrel, that was hard to believe, but I know the proof is in the pudding when you taste it and see. For God so loved the world, he gave his son so we could be free. Open up your heart and let him in. He said I'm all that you need. I'll give you more than you can fathom, and I ain't talking about stuff. I'll take that hatred in your heart and fill those spaces with love. There's a purpose, there's a passage, there's a calling on your life. Take your plans, let me have them. I promise I'll get you right. I laid it down in that moment, I gave them all that I had. I started walking, put those things in the past. I'm no longer there. Driving in the fast lane, following the world, blinded by the lights they showed me. Had my boot on the gas with the pedal to the floor. Heard a voice cry out and it told me, my son, you've been burning rubber far too long. If you listen, you can hear the sound. Oh, it's not too late, you're not too far. Oh, you can turn around, turn around. You can turn around. Oh yeah, you can turn around. I was driving in the fast lane, turn around, turn around.
You encourage, Lord God, all of us, but specifically the mothers and the women in the house today. Would you draw us in, Lord God, to this incredible portrait of what authentic biblical womanhood looks like.
You and these other girls, what the difference is? Girl, you feminine, not a feminist. God formed you from my rib back in Genesis. Proverbs 31, woman, verse 26. And they ask what you been doing. One flesh with your husband, you submit to him. Homeschool your kids so the devil can't get to them. Train them up and you hope the word stick to them. Wait, if you a biblical wife, this your song. Teach your kids right from wrong and you take care of the home. Hold up, hey, you ain't posting naked on the gram. Ain't for everyone to see, cause it's only for your man. Hold up, wait a minute, you can cook, you can clean. You a God-fearing woman and that's how you got the ring. Hold up, hey, and your husband go to work to provide cause he let you like. You and these other girls, what the difference is? Girl, you feminine, not a feminist. God put you from my rib back in Genesis. Proverbs 31, woman, verse 26. And they ask what you been doing. One flesh with your husband, you submit to him. Homeschool your kids so the devil can't get to them. Train them up and you hope the word stick to them.
That song gets me going.
When these other girls, what the difference is?
Let's go here. Ooh, welcome to the Crusade Cast, everyone. This is your favorite host, The Reaper. Oh man, I feel like it's been a while since we've actually talked about politics. You know, it's funny, my wife was actually talking to me about it tonight. And, I got to thinking, and I'm like, I don't do politics that often anymore. And I hope you guys like the background. I actually think this is gonna be what we do from now on. But I actually let's get rid of that. I actually think one of the reasons why I don't talk too much about politics, which we're gonna be changing, one, there's not really huge things going on all the time. And it is a little difficult to try to stay on top of every little thing that happens. Just because America feels like it's just so divided. I saw a video earlier today, and it's about this gentleman that is in the hospital, And they don't know if I don't know if he actually died or if he's recovering. But apparently, a leftist was going by his home, saw that he had a bunch of American flags and MAGA stuff, and he was really proud of his president, really proud of his country. And apparently, they dang near killed him. And I don't know if it was one person or two, but the fact is, and the truth is, we are at a crossroads here in this nation. And I know based on where you live, you may not feel that way. Because if you live in a city, then you know those are Democratic places. And not Democratic, but they're Democrat places. So a lot more Democrats live there, a lot more like-minded people. But Democrats are starting to make their way out of those cities. They're starting to make their way to Texas. They're starting to make their way to Florida. They're starting to make their way to Kansas. They're making their way into a lot of other states that are red. And the reason why they started to really wake me up is, where I live here in Florida, my wife works in the medical industry, and I think every place that she has worked at, Democrats are pretty prevalent. And Florida is usually I guess you could say it's usually a red state. I think we're probably going to be getting to the point to where we're going to be a swing state soon enough. And if that happens, I will probably leave. Me and my wife will probably get up and go, because I'm not going to live in a blue state. And here's the thing: blue states, if you want to live in insanity, I would say it's up to you. But what Democrats are doing is they're trying to push Republicans to the point to where you're going to have nowhere really left to go. And the only thing you're going to have to do is fight. And I don't call for violence. And I actually watch Myron, and it's funny, Myron Gaines. And a lot of these guys don't call for violence. And I wouldn't call for it either. However, there is going to come a point where I do believe the right is going to have to start fighting. And they're going to have to start getting violent at some point. And I don't say that lightly. That man who had American flags, who was nearly beat to death or is dead, I don't even know if he is. They tried killing Trump 4 times. I mean, think about that. 4 times, I think. It's 3 or 4, I'm sorry. Let me not get to that point to where I'm getting so exaggerative that I'm not saying the correct thing. So it is important that, I do state the correct thing. They did try to kill him 3 to 4 times. It's hard for me to try to stay on top of this. One second, let me move that there. So the reason why I say that this is an issue is, the left is starting to show that they have come to the understanding that I have come to. And I don't say this. I don't say this in any kind of enthusiasm. If I am being honest with you, this is not anything enthusiastic. But we cannot coexist. We can't. I feel like the Republican Party or the conservatives or the MAGA, whatever you want to call them, I think honestly they're sitting back and they're like, well, the Democrats aren't going to be able to do what they want because the law is going to stop them. Because what they're doing is, it's illegal. So the Republicans are like, well, then we're just going to sit back. We're going to let the law do what it needs to do. We voted for Trump to do certain things. He's going to take it from there and bam. But if there's one thing we have been able to count on Trump, is that Trump is more worried about what's going on in the Middle East and in other foreign affairs than he is what's going on here. Now, Trump has done some very decent things. And as far as presidents goes, either him or Kamala, and I'm sorry, but Kamala was definitely not going to be doing better than he was. So, all in all, we still got the better end of the stick. But now we're coming up to a crossroads. The law is not doing what it needs to do. These judges are allowing their political affiliations to dictate how they rule. And even if that means not serving justice to further their political causes. I can't tell you how many cases I've seen where judges give criminals slaps on the wrist, where judges let these murderers out, these people that had court dates that had committed crimes out, and they go out and they commit more crimes. Our law system here in America is very broken. And the right has become, and I am sorry, I try to restrain myself, from saying really, it's kind of hard to describe, but I'm just going to say the word. And I'll tell you right now, forgive me, because I don't usually talk like this. But I feel, and I think that there's really no better word for it. The right has become very pussified. And I don't like using that word. But the truth is I don't think the right is really going to win this war. I think something's going to have to happen in order for the right to actually get up and say, I have no choice. And the thing is America used to be about the kids. It used to be about children, but the blue states are saying, fuck your kids. I hate to say it. And look, I'm trying not to cuss, but I don't know how else to really state this so that you can understand. The Democratic Party is essentially saying, enough. Kids are not safe. We're going to push all of these evil ideologies on them. And the right is going to do nothing because the right has been doing nothing. The right does what most people, what they always do. They see what the left is doing. They can point to how it's illegal. They wait for the law to do it, and then they sit and they bitch. They bitch about it. It's like, well, they can't do this. Well, they're doing it. We have drag queen shows going on in kids' schools where they're literally taking transgender men who are dressed up as women and showing them that that's okay. America used to be about protecting kids. But I will say, they have literally stated, the Democratic Party has literally stated, fuck your kids. And like I said, I don't like to cuss, but this is a thing that I'm very passionate on because that is literally what they're doing. Now, the right likes to sit here and say, well, Trump ran on deporting illegal immigrants, aka illegals. Now, some of those illegals may have let their visas expire. Some of them may have actually committed a felony act and crossed the border illegal without permission. And I don't know if you let your visa expire, if you are committing a felony, you may not be. But I do know if you cross the border without permission, you're definitely committing a felony. But here's the question. Trump has stopped doing raids in cities. At least I haven't seen him. He's pulled out of, I think it was Minnesota. So the question now comes down to, we see the left is organized. We see they are being funded. They are being paid. And guess what? They're showing up and fighting. Now let's look at the right. What does the right have that is its equal counterpart? Because the right likes to sit back and likes to say, oh, wow, they're fighting ICE, because I am one of them, believe it or not. When I saw everything that was going on, I'm like, well, these people are stupid because they're not going to beat federal agents. They're not going to be able to beat the police officers. But then guess what happened? The blue states were like, look, I know you're doing something completely legal. However, to further my political agenda, I'm going to say fuck the Constitution. I'm going to say fuck the president. I'm going to say fuck the United States of America. Because we, the people, voted Donald Trump in. You have to remember the president's voted in. So the people overall, according to our system, voted Donald Trump in, which means he represents what most of the people, or at least the Electoral College, he represents most of the states. So when he's doing what he ran on to do, and he's getting opposed, and the police of those states aren't doing anything, which, mind you, I believe they should be, those people, the police chief of those states, of those counties, wherever it is, they should be arrested. They should be arrested. They should be taken to a federal court, and if they have to do time, they should be thrown in a federal prison. Because you have mandates, you have laws on the books, and federal laws are on top of state laws. So when you have federal agents that are doing what they have legal rights to do, and you're deciding not to protect them, you're deciding not to do your jobs, you're actually deciding to help these protesters and these other people do what they're doing, which we all know they're a terrorist hand of the Democratic Party. That's what they're doing. They're funded, obviously, and they're very organized. But then we look at the right. Where's their counterpart? All the right does is bitch. That's all they do. They have no counterpart. We are not organized. We don't have a group where we're going to go out there and combat these leftists. We're hoping and we're praying that the government is finally going to do its job. But here's the problem. I hear people all the time say the government is corrupt, that the government's bought and paid for, that the government it's an entire act. So you're expecting people that are actors, people that are part of the establishment, and you're acting as though you're waiting for them to do something, when this whole time, if you really believe that the entire government is corrupt, then they're all in it together. And then the Epstein files comes out, and there's huge uproars about it because Trump stated, when he ran, there were a couple key things he ran on, and releasing the Epstein files was one of them. He did run, and one of the things he said was he was going to release the Epstein files. Well, there's a lot that's redacted, and some people could state, well, hey, some of the victim attorneys, for their safety and whatnot, they wanted them redacted. But here's the problem. There's more stuff that's redacted than just the victims. So now it comes down to, what are they redacting? There's just so much going on here, and I can't point this out enough. The right is losing. We're losing. I wish I could say otherwise. And we're fighting on so many fronts, it's crazy. But here's the thing. The Democrats are like, look, we don't care about any of you guys. We don't care about Israel. We don't care about the right. We don't care about America. We don't care about Christianity. We don't care about Islam. We want to do what we want to do, the way we want to do it. And we don't want anybody telling us how to do it. And we don't want anybody putting constraints on us. But then these same people want to come out and they want to say defund the police. And they essentially want to say, well, you need to give up your guns, but then they want to take away your guns, but then they want to say defund the police. So then you want me to give up my guns, but you don't trust the police. You don't think they're trained enough to do it. But then you don't want me to have a firearm to protect myself. So there's a lot of things in the Democratic Party that's kind of crazy. But the one thing I will give them, they're not afraid to go get their hands dirty. And I'll see a lot of Republicans say, well, I have a wife, I have kids. If you have kids, you should be the first one to want a better future. Because it's for your kids. It used to come to a point to where the parents would sacrifice themselves for their kids. But we've gotten to such a point in our society where the parents sort of act as though my kids got to go out there and fend for themselves. I don't need to do everything for them. And it's true to an extent. But when you see their futures are very bleak and it's not looking positive, well, it's on the parents to do what they can while they can to mitigate certain things so that their children don't have to hopefully deal in worse situations and that they're not worse off. And I'm sorry about my voice. My voice has been coming back, but it's not all here. So I apologize that it doesn't sound very forceful. I'll try to put the volume up when I edit the video. But the truth is, the left, the left has many things going for it. And what angers me is that there's too many battlefields. So we can't battle. We can't. Well, one, the right doesn't have any way to battle these leftists unless the law is going to do it. And if the law doesn't do it, then you're essentially screwed. That's where the right is. And one day, the conservative movement is going to wake up and they're going to realize they're enslaved. They're going to realize they're in a world that they could have changed when they had the chance, but they didn't do it. They didn't go out there and fight hard enough. And this doesn't always mean violence. Fighting can be many things, but there will be a point where violence is going to be the only way out. And this is why we have Republican podcasters that are trying to get out there. And this is why Charlie Kirk was so important, because Charlie Kirk had a way about him to go to these schools and challenge these kids' viewpoints. And he was good at maintaining his composure, not getting mad, not letting it get to him, and just doing it in a respectful way where these kids could actually be like, well, most of them, not all of them, because obviously there are some people that are so far gone, they don't want to hear it. But for a lot of them, they probably went up there and they're like, this guy is really nothing like what I thought he was going to be. He brought up some very interesting points. Maybe I should go look into this. Maybe I should go see what's going on. What is he talking about? And he was so good at it that he was dangerous. But once again, if Tyler Robinson killed him, what this would mean is, once again, a leftist decided that there was too big of a threat on the right to their points of view. And so they silenced him. And I want you to think about that, because they're not talking anymore. Like I said, they've tried to kill Trump 4 times. That one guy might be in the hospital or dead. And let me tell you, there's probably several more cases of Democrats killing Republicans. And the thing is Republicans are so busy with their lives that they think that by listening to podcasts a couple times a week or watching the news or just being brushed up on a little bit, that's enough. And the problem is it's not. It's not enough anymore. And the thing is Republicans are going to need to start getting forceful themselves. They're going to need to start mobilizing. They're going to need to start forming their own militias. Look, the Second Amendment was built in case of a tyrannical government. If the government's not doing its job and it's allowing this to happen, they are tyrannical. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. If they're not enforcing the rule of law, then they are no longer the government. Now, does this mean Trump has unilateral, and I hope I'm using that. I hope I'm using that word correctly, but does that mean he has ultimate authority and everybody just does what he says? No. Clearly, that's not the case. But he could have enforced the law, and he could have actually gave people a little more hope in the justice system. He could be looking at some of these cases where people are getting unjustly hurt because criminals are being put out back on the street. He could be trying to reform and do things here, but the problem with Trump is that he's busy dealing with foreign affairs. And the reason why I say this, it's not because foreign affairs aren't important. They absolutely are. They're very important. My issue is, and I'm not sure if you've kept up with this, I think his name's Thomas Massie, just lost his seat in the House of Representatives. This is a big deal because Thomas Massie is actually a very well-loved figure in his state. And what's amazing to me is that AIPAC spent millions of dollars trying to remove Massie. Now, why would AIPAC And just so you guys can see, I'm going to pull it up here because it's like, well, why would an Israeli group here try to move a representative in the House who's supposed to represent his state and what they believe? How could they spend millions of dollars and remove a representative when Israel is not part of Kentucky? It's just very weird to me why an Israeli and American group would remove somebody who's not in favor of the war when Trump knows half of his base is not in favor of the war. Now, for those of you who don't know what AIPAC is, if you give me a minute here, I'm going to put on my little handy dandy camera. There we go. So I put here, and let's see if it is still here, because I think here it is. So you can see, this is what AIPAC is. It's the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Now, I'm gonna read this little section here. Is a long-established U.S. lobbying and political action organization that advocates for pro-Israel policies in Congress and the executive branch. Just to pause there. Why do we need a group to lobby on behalf of Israel, who technically Israel lives, their little country, it's in the Middle East. So why do we have our own little group for Israel and America? These are just questions, right? I mean, because it's fair to ask questions. You shouldn't be angry at that. They advocate for pro-Israeli policies. Well, what pro-Israeli policies would they be getting from America other than funding? Is this group using the money that it gets to buy elections? Because if it is, that means a foreign country has power over America, because you have to remember the politicians have power. They're supposed to represent you. Now you have the three branches of government: the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. The executive is the president. He has a lot of powers, but you have to remember, if the president is bought and paid for, there are checks and balances that are supposed to keep they're supposed to keep him in line. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm against Trump. I'm just telling you that this is how it should be working. So if Trump is doing something that is unconstitutional or is illegal or they believe is outside of the bounds of his scope of power, then you have the judicial and Congress that can hold him responsible. Now, and it's vice versa, right? So if Congress is doing something that may not be right, this is why the judicial is there. It's supposed to look at all of these cases, and it's supposed to kind of go over it and make sure everybody's playing within the bounds of the law. And if they're doing something wrong, guess what? That's why the checks and balances are there. But if an Israeli group just took out a very beloved member of the House of Representatives, and that's just a House of Representatives position, that's not the presidency, that's not a Supreme Court, then who else are they paying off? And here's another question. For all the American citizens out there, who are you willing to sacrifice for a foreign country? You know, I have a buddy of mine, and I respect him very much. He's a really good friend, and we always have interesting political talks. And one of the things that, and I'm sorry guys, I always turn this off because I don't think you guys need to see me twice. But one of the things that we were talking about, and there's going to be some people that laugh at this, because the truth be told, people who play strategy games and who have played games like Rome or Age of Empires kind of get an idea, even though it's not in real life, they have a simulated idea of what it's like to kind of be in control. And when I say that, I don't mean in like a game way. So like anyone who plays Rome, I probably use Rome because it's the better one. if you've ever played Rome, especially on one of the hardest levels, you will see immediately with Rome, you control taxes. When you bring your taxes up, your population generally does not like it because you're taking more of their money away. If you're at war for a long period of time, your population generally does not like it because being at war is never a good thing. Well, one, family members could be getting killed depending on what's going on. Their family members could be deployed, could be away from home for months, years at a time. So there's many things that kind of fluctuate your population and the morale of your population. When the morale is low on your population, any production that is going on in that current city is low because morale is down. So it teaches you to look at your citizens, and it kind of teaches you that you need to start doing what's best for your country. And if you're playing Rome, but you're doing everything that's better for other countries and on behalf of other countries, your civilization will not last. It will not last. I never thought I would, but and I won't even say that because the truth is there, me and my buddy, we are generation. There's a generational gap because I get where he comes from because we started talking about Israel. And I really have nothing against Israel because the truth is Israel is fighting to do what it has to do to survive. Israel feels as though it needs to fight Iran in order to destabilize the last major threat to its existence. Even though Iran had not done anything to Israel other than October 7th which people are saying, hey, they're funding the terrorist organization that went in there and attacked Israel on October 7th. Okay, that's fine. That's a fair point, right? So we fired back at them. Israel has also attacked Gaza, I don't know how many times. They've probably killed up to 6 figures of people. So now we ask ourselves, okay, Israel can't defeat Iran. And Iran funds the terrorist organization that attacked you. You have options, but they're not good ones. Because if it's just Israel by itself, they can't attack Iran dead on unless they use their nuke. And it's the same nuke that they still like to lie to people and say they don't have. Which I don't know why they say it. Because everybody knows they have nukes. But my biggest but let's just say they don't have nukes, right? So, because like I said, they like to deny it. There's quite a few things out there that would suggest that they do. But let's just say that, okay, they don't have nukes. So then their options, if you don't have nukes, is you're going to have to play nice with Iran. 2, you act as though Iran is not your enemy, but you attack the terrorist organization and the area in which the terrorist organization is attacking you from, which they can do. Or you push for a foreign country who's bigger than you to fight your war on your behalf. And for some weird reason, since World War II, America has had this very weird thing with Israel. And I don't understand it because, look, Israel has a right to exist, but you don't have the right to do what you want and then look at America to send people over there to die. Now, I'm not even saying we're over there for Israel. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that Israel is the cause. I'm not even saying that it is because Joe Kent made a very damning statement about Israel when he resigned. And you can't take that away from him. He had intel that we don't. Now, he could be lying. Let's just say he was. Okay. Let's just say we're there for the nuclear weapons. Then why haven't we put boots on the ground? Trump gave them a deadline. They clearly said F you. Boots are not on the ground. We are not invading. So my whole thing is I really doubt that this was about nukes at this point. Trump has been changing the goalpost. So okay. Maybe that's not the case. My whole thing with Trump is Trump is very focused over there. And the reason why I bring this up is because I honestly, at this point, I believe Trump is bought. I believe he is bought when it comes to Israel because he's doing something that, yes, it was very characteristic for him back in the day. Ooh. And he's being consistent as far as when they interviewed him back in the day, he said he would not have taken that from Iran and he would have attacked them. So now that he's president, people are using that as, hey, he's been very consistent. Yeah, but we didn't vote for back in the day Trump. We voted for the Trump who was running the campaigns No New Wars. Now, this doesn't mean that because I voted for him for No New Wars, this doesn't mean not to start wars or go into it. This means if you're going to go into a war or start a war, it needs to benefit the American people. Because that was my biggest issue. We had the thing going on with Russia and Ukraine. I don't even agree that we should be there. I don't. Like, sorry, Ukraine. You guys are backing the wrong horses. America is an entire body of water away from you. We are the only real threat to Russia. And we are not right next door to you. So, realistically, Ukraine should be loyal and should be kissing Russia's ass. But yet the leader of Ukraine, every chance he gets, makes it seem as though he does not want to yield to Russia, which is stupid. Because if Russia wants Ukraine, they'll take it. And they're doing it little by little. The question is how many people does Russia want to lose? And how and how quick it's going to take or how long it's going to take. Those are the questions because right now Russia holds all the cards. We were hoping to get Trump in there to kind of end this because it's like, hey, when Trump was in office the first term, if he said he was going to do something, he'd do it. But that situation hasn't been handled to my understanding. So that's still up in the air. And then Trump goes to war with Iran. And my only question to anybody, it doesn't matter what side of the Republican Party you stand on, my only question, and it's always going to be this question, why are we at war with Iran? Because Trump at first said it was for weapons of mass destruction, which means, well, nuclear weapons, obviously, which means he lied to us when he did the B-2 bomber mission. Because when he did the B-2 bomber mission, he stated that we set their nuclear program back by several years. And I thought that was great. I'm like, several years, this is awesome. Okay, we don't need to worry about them for a while. We're good. And then I find out we're in a war. And one of his last speeches, he was like, well, we went in there because of their ballistic missiles. Because if they have too many ballistic missiles, then they can try to get a nuclear weapon. And then we can't do anything because their ballistic missile program is going to be too great. So wait a minute. We set them back years on the nuclear weapons. But now you want them to completely disarm because their ballistic missile program is really the only major threat or defense that they have. So you're telling a country that's main source of weaponry is their ballistic missiles, and you're telling them to get rid of the only thing you have that makes you any kind of threat in the region. But that also includes any kind of defense you have because it's a deterrent. So us having nuclear weapons and having one of the most sophisticated militaries and having the technology that we have makes us number one. At least till this day, I haven't seen anything that's knocked us out. So we're number one, which is why a lot of people don't come to mess with us because we have that deterrent. We are a nuclear weaponized country. Granted, nobody wants to use a nuke. Shoot, I don't think Russia or China want to use nukes either. I think everybody has nukes that can have nukes because it's a deterrent. Like Kim Jong-un, or I hope that's how you pronounce it. We're not over there at his doorstep because he has nuclear weapons. He has nukes. We could have removed them. We could have removed it. If there was no nukes and we didn't have to worry about that, we could have gone in there and removed them. But the thing is nukes are a natural deterrent. For any major country, they're a natural deterrent. So here's the thing. Iran doesn't like the fact that America keeps meddling in its affairs when it comes to Israel. Fair enough. Fair enough. We can tell Israel, look, only in a matter of defense will we get involved. If Iran has not directly attacked you, then Iran's not our problem. If you have a terrorist organization over there that's an issue, okay, maybe we can help, but now we need to talk about this. And this goes for any country. Because whenever we talk about potentially getting into a war, you have to remember at the end of the day, wars are typically won with boots on the ground, aka American lives, also known as, aka our husbands, our wives, our children, our mothers, our fathers, our aunts, our uncles. These people that you're sending out there are American citizens. Now, mind you, would I be against taking a lot of these left-leaning, idiot, retarded Democrats that have never really experienced harshness a day in their life as they sit in a wonderful capitalistic business where they're on their like $1,200 to $1,300 laptop complaining about how America is oppressing them? Do you think I'd care if we took several of those guys and threw them out there on the battlefield to toughen them up and teach them what the horrors of real life is? I wouldn't be against that. The problem is it never stops there. And the thing is, with how the Democrats play, they're probably going to try to stop as many Democrats from going into the military, so that way the right-leaning retards can go into it. And here's the thing, I say right-leaning retards because we're looking at the system to save us, but the system's already broken. It's not going to save us. I don't think so. At this point, I think we got to save ourselves. But that's nor here nor there. The point is Trump's been changing things. So now, why did we get into this whole spiel? And I'm sorry, it was a little bit of a rant, but why did we get into it? Well, let me go ahead and let me get back up that beautiful secondary camera. And the reason why I did it is to understand here about AIPAC and why we have an Israeli lobbying group that is designed with America and Israeli combined. Here's the thing, Israel is not a part of America. So it's a foreign country that has the ability to buy out, apparently, House seats, House representatives. If they can buy out House representatives, I guarantee you they can buy out a presidency. And here's the more dangerous thing that people need to start waking up to. People from other countries that do not have any loyalty to America or American citizens, but are born here and are somehow magically able to win themselves a presidential seat or politician seats, are the greatest threat to American citizens. When you have people that come from other countries that do not care about your country and don't even want to learn what makes your country so great and special, because guys, let's face it, why do we feel bad for these illegal immigrants here if our country is trash? If our country is so horrible and horrific and disgusting and just, the way that the Democratic Party sees America, if it's truly all of that, then why do we want immigrants to be here? Yeah, guys, come over here. Join us in this incredibly racist system. Join us in this oppression. Wouldn't make any sense. It's almost as though they don't believe the bull crap that they're spewing themselves. Then they have the gall to say to Christians, well, how dare you? How dare you say that they can't stay here? God never said anything about borders. Hold the phone. When you die, what happens? According to the Bible, you get judged. And there's two places that you go. One is called the lake of fire. One is called the lake of fire, aka hell. The other is called heaven. If you don't meet the requirements for heaven, what does God do? He turns you away. That actually sounds like implementing a border. It almost sounds like Jesus Christ got it almost sounds like Jesus Christ knows all about borders and territories. It's almost as though Jesus isn't against enforcing borders. And people always act as though we're doing some horrific thing by sending somebody who's from another country back to their country. Most of the time, they come here and they just want to take our money and send it over there anyways. Most of the time, they come here, they retire here, and they take our money and they take their pensions back to their country. So let me get this straight. People who typically come here and don't even want to spend the rest of their lives here, we should feel bad because they came here illegally and committed a felony. And then we're supposed to feel bad and keep them in this oppressive and just horrific and racial system? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. This is why I can't stand the left, because they're just disingenuous. But now I can't stand them because now they're being okay with just killing people. And I can't stand the right because they're too weak to even call this for what it is and to even start forming their own groups. Excuse me, but the military and the law is not going to save the people that want a good, clean, and decent society. Most people like to sit here and say, hey, I don't care what you do as long as it's in the privacy of your own home and as long as it's not something that's going to be degenerate that's going to affect kids. Man, excuse me. I'm a little congested. But the fact is what they're doing. The fact is what they're doing now is that they don't care. Geesh, man, I am congested. I apologize, everybody. And I say this because immigrants being able to get into politics is very dangerous. We have a lobbying group for a foreign country that is incredibly small, and it now has power over the government in a way that I never thought that I'd ever see. How could Israel have so much power? Well, it's money. Money is always power. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and this is where I was going with this originally. I asked him, why should we continue to support Israel? And he said, well, because it's the moral thing to do. Now, when you play Rome and things like that, you understand real quickly that morality kind of starts towing that gray line. And it just gives you a simulation of what it would be like to be a leader of a country. Because leaders have to make bad and tough calls all the time. And it's not fun. This is why when people are like, man, I would love to be the leader. Most people only look at the good aspects of being a leader. Look at Donald Trump. He is now the president and leader of the most powerful country in the world. And I guarantee you he's making calls all the time that I don't think he would wish on his worst enemy. Well, who knows? It is Trump though. He is unique with how he sees things. But I am sure Trump is making calls all the time that could be costing people's lives. And granted, he probably is costing American lives at this point. But the thing with Rome is it teaches you that you can't do things for other countries based on morality. What are you going to get from this other country that makes it logical for us to send American citizens to die? And when I asked him that, he's like, well, I don't know. He's like, that's a good question. He's like, I think it's a moral thing. And I was like, well, anything that we get from Israel, just name it, anything. I just want one thing: benefit. Now, you could say, hey, we have bases there. Maybe they'll help us conduct missions and things like that. But realistically, we have no interest really in the Middle East. The only thing that we really have interested in there is the oil. So, okay, maybe the oil is something to talk about. But guess what? Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. So anything to do with oil kind of goes out the window. All right, well, then maybe we can talk about, maybe it's intel. The Mossad is supposed to be a great intelligence agency. Well, we got into Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction, and supposedly that came from Mossad. They were false. So their intel was trash. We've been hearing for years that Iran is on the verge of having nuclear weapons, and that the reason why they jumped in there is because, once again, intel we got from Israel, because according to Joe Kent, the American intelligence agency had told Trump that you're not going to get what you want out of this war. And they lied to Trump and manipulated him. Now, granted, this is all on Trump because Trump is the leader. But what I'm saying is if we can't even get proper intelligence from them because they're just going to lie and manipulate us to do what they want, then I can't even say intelligence is something we're getting from them. So we realistically get nothing from Israel, but yet we're supposed to just send people to die for Israel. How about not? How about not? How about we sit here and we say, look, if you can bring something to the table that is of benefit to me, to America, then I can bring it to the people and I can see if they're on board for defending you or not. Because there comes a point in time where it's the... Everything okay? How do you not know? Oh, okay. I'm not worried about them then. There comes a point in time where when you're doing stuff for your country, you need to ask yourself these big questions. And I know, look, at one point in time, protecting the Jews, protecting Israel, it made sense. They went through a Holocaust. They didn't have their own. They didn't have a country of their own. Guess what? They have a country of their own. The Holocaust, the World War II was back in the 1940s, if I remember correctly. So they've come very far from where they were. So the question now comes down to is America are we the world's protector? Are we the world's savior? Are we here to defend every little country that can't defend itself? Or is America a country like anybody else that just happens to be doing really well, but needs to ask itself before getting into any kind of conflict, does this make sense? The problem with American politics is the term limits, and I hate to say it because I know that the founding fathers wanted to do 4-year term limits because, excuse me, because they didn't want any one party to be stuck there so that they can become tyrannical. But the problem in our country, one, I think it's all just one big game, but let's just say it's not. Let's just say, it literally is just two sides against each other. Well, if it is, it means we take 2 steps forward, and then when the other party comes in, we take 2 steps backwards. We take 2 steps forward, then 2 steps backwards. And if we're lucky, we can take 4 steps forward, 2 steps backward, and if we're lucky, we can take another 2 steps forward, maybe 4. But the problem with America, Democrats and Republicans are so far from each other, that you cannot coexist. One side believes in killing babies. One side believes in this mental illness called transgenderism. They kill themselves at almost a 50% rate. And when you bring those statistics up, and it amazes me because it's usually women, and I hate to say this, but it's usually women that are trying to defend these undefensible positions, and I don't get it. But they kill themselves at almost 50% rate, and when you tell them that, mainly women are like, well, I don't know where you're getting those studies from. I don't care. They're people, they deserve to live. You can say that people can deserve to live while also saying that they're a danger to themselves 50% of the times. And if we're not careful, we've been having a lot more massive shooters that are transgender. We've been having a lot more of them lately. So this is becoming to be that they're a danger to themselves, and they may be a danger to society. And do you know what you do with people who are a danger to themselves and a danger to society? You put them in rehabilitation places. You put them in places where they need to work through and heal. They need to get past whatever it is mentally that's going on. And the reason I say that, it's not because I want to be, all right, that belt was a little too tight. It's not because I want to be a jerk. It's not because I think that these people are animals. It's because people that are sick shouldn't be taken advantage of from a certain political class. The Democrats are not stupid. As much as people like to call them stupid, the politicians aren't dumb. The politicians are like, how can I utilize anyone that I can to get votes and still maintain relevance? Well, I need to have the blue cities packed to the bone with people because I need to have more House of Representatives. Well, the only way to do that is it goes based off population, not necessarily citizenship. So what do? Let's flood our cities with as many illegals as possible, with as many people as possible, so I can continue to add to the House of Representatives. So that way the Democrats have more authority. They have more power because those cities carry more weight. And then they say, well, how else can I benefit? Oh, let's break up the nuclear family. Let's tell women that it's no longer good to raise the next generation and to see a small version of yourself grow up and make their own choices and then have grandkids and have a family and feel fulfilled. Let's not do that. Let's set men and women against each other. And then when we do that, let's get those guys, those ones that we've been able to convince that the traditional family is bad. Let's convince them to come to us because that's our way of thinking. And we're going to label it progressive. We're trying to progress in life. You can label it what you want. What you're doing is you're trying to break America. Because nowhere on earth are you going to say that breaking the nuclear family is an intelligent idea. Anywhere you go, a country needs offsprings. They need children. But they need citizen children. This is why America's having the problems that it's having. We have too many people from all over the place that love their countries more than America. And then they're having kids, and those kids are hating America. And those kids don't fully enjoy America because they don't respect America. And I'm sorry, I've been going out on a rant and I can't help it. But the point is American leadership needs to start looking inward. We want to do all these things for foreign people and foreign countries, but we have too many things going on here. We need to deal with all this. That's like somebody whose house is on fire and they're more worried about their neighbor's house, who's not doing too bad, by the way, and who could live without your help. And then the neighbor's looking at you like, dude, your own house is on fire. What are you doing? You need to address your home before you offer me help. You have your own problems. People want to sit here and say, hey, there's homelessness. There's vets on the street. There's vets not getting care. They're like, oh, look at all these starving people. Let me tell you something. One, I don't believe it's the government's job or responsibility to give anybody a safe haven. Because the country was founded off of freedom. What do you do? How does the government pay for anything that is universal or free? Surprise, it's not free. They need to get paid somehow. Because guess what? I didn't go get a degree in teaching to go teach for free. You're going to pay me to teach. And this is an example. I'm not a teacher. God bless teachers. I'm not a teacher. You don't want me teaching people because they'll be leaving school with common sense. They'll be leaving school much better off than what they are today. But the fact is, we're burning internally. We don't have groups willing to do what needs to be done in order to actually get our country back on track. And then we're sitting here crying about foreign affairs. And I'm very disappointed in this Massey thing because this shows me now that Israel, and people have been saying it for a long time, Israel is so strong. I honestly am getting to the point where I believe that they are buying out all our politicians, at least most of the ones that are in power. And I do believe Trump went in with the sole intention of not getting into war. I believe they bought him out or they threatened him. I honestly, and that's just my personal opinion, I do believe that Israel is a threat to America. After seeing that, it's you kind of can't turn a blind eye anymore. But here's the thing. Israel's not the only ones. American citizens to make a buck will sell out America in a heartbeat. Most of them will. Bill Clinton sold off our secrets to, I believe it was China, to make more money. He was already president. He was already wealthy. He was already rich. He was making $400,000 a year. And he was going to make much more. But it's never enough for people. It's never enough. Our country is in big trouble. And I don't think the right has what it takes to do what needs to be done. I think the left is going to win this. This is my prediction. Unless the government really starts doing its job, and I've lost all faith in the government. If the government starts doing its job, hopefully Trump will be able to see out his presidency, and he'll start focusing more on home. He'll continue the raids. He will start locking people up that are breaking the law. So he made a mandate where they are not to put any kind of flags on on certain governmental spots. And it's always these cities that think that, well, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to fight you. If the government is being tyrannical, then yes, you need to fight them. But when the government is saying this is a government property, we're going to go ahead and we're not going to allow any flags other than the American flag to be flown up there, they have the right to do that. That's government land. And flying the American flag should not be an insult, and it should not be offensive, especially to American citizens. So when I'm sitting idly by and I'm seeing that we have a lot of people fighting to put the pride flag up right beside our country's flag, if not higher, I get heated because it makes me want to start a coalition myself. It makes me want to go out there and say, well, if they're not going to do anything, then we need to do something. But the problem is I'm a small guy. I don't have resources to do that. I don't have the funding to do that. I don't even have the connections to do that. But the thing is people are getting tired of our government. They're getting tired. But there's only one or two things that's going to happen from here. Somebody with funds and influence is going to start their own coalition, and there will be a civil war. And I'll be honest with you, I want to just get it over with, because the quicker we get the civil war done, the quicker we know whose side's going to win, and the quicker we can move forward with the rest of our lives. Or, if there's no civil war, then that means the right has already lost. Then that means this clean country that was once clean anyways is now living in darker times than ever, where people are the most disgusting, degenerate, and vile creatures you'll ever meet. And you already see them. You already see them. These states. I mean, you look at New Jersey, you look at New York, you look at California. They have such disgusting parts of their population. It's these people that they don't take care of themselves. They dress like they just woke up. They have no aspirations or goals in life that they're realistically trying to aim for. And they want to be able to do whatever degenerate thing they want to do. That includes saying that men can become women and women can become men. What a crazy, illogical thing. And I can't believe that I'd ever live to see the day where we're saying this kind of crap. That's like saying a black man or a white man can paint their faces the opposite color and say that they are the opposite skin color. That's asinine. Now, maybe they will do it as a joke. I've seen that happen. I've seen a black guy get his entire upper half painted white and go around pretending to be a white guy. And it was hysterical. You know, he was just having fun with it. But was he really going to go around for the rest of his life and say he's white? No. He wasn't going to do that. And the thing is gender is so much more than just skin color. You're talking about biology. You're talking about bone density, muscle mass, the way that our brains work, the way that our chemicals in our bodies are. Not only that, women have uteruses, they have periods. Their emotions are all different because of the higher estrogen levels. Men have higher testosterone levels. We don't have ovaries. We sure as hell don't have ovaries. We have a sac. We have a penis. Women have a vagina. Two completely different systems. But yet they're saying that they're just interchangeable. They're interchangeable widgets. Nothing unique about either of them. And they do that because it's hysterical. The feminist movement fought for many years to get women to have all these rights, and that they're identifying that men and women, even though they're different, they want women to have same opportunities. But now it's not even same opportunities. Now they're saying, well, damn it, women should be able to be men, and men should be able to be women. They're trying to tear down fundamental walls because men have a protective instinct over women. Usually our natural instinct is if we see a woman getting hurt, then we're supposed to step in. But here's the problem with that. When you start breaking that out of society and you start telling men, hey, women are equal to you. Well, guess what? If you see a woman getting her ass handed to her, or even worse, raped, yeah, but they're equal to a guy. I don't need to step in. She can handle it. Girl power. The left is crazy. The left is a bunch of lunatics. And the left likes to hide behind, well, we care about people. We want them to live and be who they are. Except you're fighting and you're saying that they should be able to pretend to be something that they're not. And you're making that sound as though it's tolerant and healthy and that you love them for that. Actually, it's the right side that loves them. Because the right side is saying, hey, hold the phone. I want you to love you for who you are. I want you to be a functioning member of this society. I want you to be happy and not have a 50% chance at killing yourself. But in order to do that, you need to come to terms with who you are. You need to be happy about who you are. Because you want me to accept you for something that you're not. You can't even accept yourself, but you want me to accept you. What an asinine thought. But you know what? I think you guys have kind of heard my thoughts and my rants. I am very exhausted, so hopefully I'll go back and I'll listen to this, and I hope I I hope I made sense to a lot of folks out there. And I brought APAC up here because it is beginning to be more of a common thing that I'm seeing where we have foreign countries that are coming here and they're doing things in our line of politics, and it's because these other countries are realizing that Americans are fucking retards. America is filled with a bunch of idiots. That's the right and left side. They're filled with a bunch of morons. They're like, we're going to send people over there, probably going to have some military people or some spy people over there. And then they're going to have kids that are natural born citizens. And then they're going to train their kids to go into politics so that way we can break down America. Or so that way we can siphon off resources from America. And that way we can have a foothold in America. Well, you know what? The reason why people are starting to have issues with Islam is because Islam is coming over here and they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything as far as they're reproducing, and they will eventually out reproduce us. They already are. But they still have generations to go before they are a national threat to us in that way. But make no mistake, it's perfectly legal for them to come over here as long as we're allowing them to move here. And it's perfectly legal for them to have 3 or 4 kids. American citizens are only having one, mainly. If you're lucky, you'll find a family with 2 or 3. But you can't get on the Muslims for coming here, reproducing, and taking advantage of our country because they're out reproducing us. That's the Americans' fault. The Americans should be going over to their government. We should be completely toppling our government. And as far as we need to get new representatives. We need to get new representatives. The system's dirty. It's corrupt. It's corrupt. I'm sorry, it is. But you know what? I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch and see if there's somebody out there that proves me wrong. I'm going to see if our government officials actually do what they say they're going to do. Because it's been a long time since I can actually sit here and say with 100% certainty that my government is fighting for me on behalf of me and is representing me. Because it's not. I don't agree with protecting foreign countries just to protect foreign countries for morale reasons. If you're going to protect a foreign country, you protect a foreign country that is going to benefit us, because I don't agree that American citizens are just disposable. But maybe at this point, that's all American citizens are good for. Maybe at this point, the right and the left are too far gone. And at this point, the politicians probably have us right where they want us. I don't like my government. I pray for my leaders, but I don't like my government. I don't like them because most of the time, they're a bunch of selfish pricks that pretend to be Christian, that pretend to love God while at the same time screaming to all of these mothers or these single females, kill your kids. That's not a biblical standing. Nancy Pelosi was one of them. I'm a Catholic. You're a liar. A liar. Catholics they should not condone it based off of biblical standards. They should not condone it. They 100% shouldn't be condoning it. God created you perfect. So then why on earth would you, if you are a Christian or a Catholic, would you be supporting the transgender movement? God stated that a marriage is between a man and a woman. So why would you be for same-sex marriage? This is why when Democrats sit here and say, I'm a Christian, the first thing I want to do is punch them in the face. Because they're not real Christians, and they do what a lot of Christians do. what a lot of so-called Christians do. And notice how I say I feel like punching them in the face. I'm an adult, people. I can feel like doing a lot of things. I control my actions. But the one thing I will say is that when people tell me that they're Christian, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so, you want to get together, you want to read the Word, you want to study. No, my folks were, my folks were Catholic. They brought me up Catholic, but I have no interest in the Bible. So then you're not Christian. I was raised going to church, so I'm a Christian. No, you're not a Christian. I love Jesus Christ, but I just don't want to give up anything in my sinful life. Well, then you're not a Christian. I love God, but I'm going to continue to do witchcraft. Then you're not a Christian. True Christians follow God's word. Now, a lot of conservatives like to sit here and say they're Christians. No, you're not. The majority of you are not. You sit here and you're like, well, yeah, well, we want a better society. We stand for what Christianity stands for. No, you don't. No, you don't. I'm sorry, but you don't. But I am going to leave it on this note. There was a point in time, if you were to sit here and say, look, let's go back to how clean it was back in the 60s and the 50s. But let's just say we take it to the modern age. There's no slavery. Everybody's equal. Women are, well, they call it oppressed. They were not oppressed. But let's just keep a modern day freedom with back in the day cleanliness, where we had more of a Christian backing. One, you could live off of one paycheck, but you had mainly a Christian nation. So Christians look out for Christians. Churches look out for poor. They look out for homeless. They look out for their community. This is why it was important for most of America to be Christian, because they didn't want a big government. Well, where did you go if you had a hard time, but you couldn't go to the government? You go to the churches. You'd go to the church and be like, look, man, I fell on hard times. I'm a member of the church. I need help. Can you help me with a job? Can you help me, have a place to stay for a couple of nights, maybe a little bit of food? A lot of these churches will not turn you away. But what happened is people from other countries came in. People from other religious backgrounds started coming in, and they don't believe in church. They don't believe in Christ. So what's happened is instead of going to the church for all of those things and keeping government small, people started saying, well, we need safety nets, but we don't believe in church. We don't believe in Christians. So we need the government to start playing more of a role. So now the government is their God. I fell on hard times instead of going to the church, because we're supposed to be a mainly Christian nation. It's the only way our form of government works. But anyways, that's enough on that. I hope you guys know where I stand. And if you have any questions, any comments, please let me know. If there's something you disagree with me on, I have no problems talking to you about it. If you're going to troll, I will troll back. But if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and share. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm a little tired. Like I said, hopefully I didn't go rambling on about a bunch of nonsense. I like to think I tied everything together, because sometimes I do what Trump does. You start talking about something and you're going to make a point, and then you're like, oh yeah, but what about this? What about this? And then finally, like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh crap. But I was trying to make this point, so let's get back here. I've seen Trump do that, and I do it too, apparently. But anyways, guys, this is the Reaper with the Crusade Cast. You have a wonderful night. Out.